just got some content up. One of the videos, not too many, like 700 videos without much promotion.
But it's not a good class.
How's it going?
It's still my research class.
Yeah, but I'm working on another YouTube video this week, but it's going to be the best one for sure. This one, if the other video gets 7 views, probably get a multi-fan for sure. Maybe the original content. I'm at the studio handstands downstairs, so I'm going to jump over on Thursday. It's insane. I think it's about And then I get to promote the contest. It's not even a contest. I get to promote the contest where we're all distributing I have my camera. All our shirts are available to sell. And then I can get a couple of top riders there and get right now, I'm liking this contest. It's really good fun. I've content for some people on my post. I have all this content. I'm really scared. I think 30 of them are here. So, once I can get that kind of level of content with my post,
Yeah, right? No, it's flipped upside down. Right off the top.
How's it going, everyone? All right, awesome. My name is Mike Weiss. If this is your first time here, this is UT Entrepreneurs. I'm the president, and my executive team is right over here: Greg McCoy, Hannah Trelligan, and Jess Apogee. So before we get started with Mike DeLazzer, founder of Redbox, I'm sure you've all seen it around Walmart and the different storefronts. We're going to give John Trong the floor here for a minute to talk about Startup Weekend, which is this weekend. Am I right?
Yeah, this weekend.
Okay, go ahead.
Ooh, I'm giving 30 seconds to give you guys a quick thing about Startup Weekend. So Startup Weekend is happening on Friday, all the way to Sunday. It starts at 6 p.m. So Startup Weekend is where my company started. I'm a senior here, Verity, where I use virtual reality to create games for physical therapy. Now, from our humble beginning, it started from Startup Weekend. Startup Weekend is a 3-day event where people like yourselves come in, pitch your idea. About 100 people pitch their ideas, and top 12 get selected. These top 12 then form teams from those 100 people, and within 3 days, the idea is to create a business. So when you know the final day on Sundays where you pitch, where they choose first, second, and third places. A lot of these comes up with rewards. Now, what's really huge about this event is that that's where I found my business partner, and that's where you guys will possibly find your business partner. So try to come out there. I have been given 10 free tickets. So instead of paying $37, come to me and I'll give you a free code to get a ticket. All right?
Where is it, Jonathan?
It's going to be, I actually do not know that. They actually did not give me that the details for that piece. But I'll look for that, and if you guys are interested, let me know. Actually, channel side, I know that much.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
Yeah, so a really interesting opportunity for you guys to get involved there. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mike DeLazzer. Mike DeLazzer is a serial entrepreneur who has started over 8 companies in 2006. He was inducted into the Chicago Entrepreneur Hall of Fame for his work as a founder of Get a Movie Incorporated, which later became Redbox. Redbox has since become the largest video rental company in the world, with over 45,000 locations in the United States and revenues approaching $2 billion. Building on past success in the DVD kiosk industry, Mike co-founded New Retail Limited. In 2009, he was given a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Collegiate Entrepreneur Organization for his work in supporting entrepreneurship globally. Mike DeLazzer.
So I'm wondering, are the bars closed? Why are you guys here? I wouldn't be here, that's for sure. If I was your age. So, I love this song by Tom Petty. It's the one where he says, "I won't back down." You heard the song? He's like, "I won't back down. You can stand me at the gates of hell, and I won't back down." And to me, I think that really typifies what an entrepreneur is. Stand the guy up at the gates of hell, no matter what, and he's not going to back down. So, over the years, I've told parts of the Redbox story, the front end and the back end, and unfortunately for you guys, I'm going to tell the whole story today, so it's going to be a little long. But so how does a guy who was running a small importing company in Chicago wind up building a Goliath-killing machine like Redbox that basically sent Blockbuster into the heap, as it were? So you might imagine that a guy like me had a passion for movies. Not really. And you might guess that I had an extensive background in media and movie distribution. No, I didn't. Well, you might guess I had the expertise in robots to build the automated kiosk and the software. No. Finally, you might guess, well, the guy must have a lot of money, because to put up these machines, extremely expensive, so he must have a lot of money. No, you're wrong. So finally, how the hell does this thing get started? How did I get involved in this business when I'm running an importing company? And how did a poster of a crane swallowing a frog play into the end of the story and my success? So in 2000, my partner and I, we had a small electronics company. We were building these flat panel speakers, and back then, really the only people that were using DVDs were people we called road warriors, people that are salesmen that had laptops that had DVD players in them. So it wasn't really prevalent at that time because most people were still in the VHS mode. And we had built this small speaker for a company, or for ourselves actually, and we were in Vegas and we happened to win an award for innovation. And while we're at our booth hawking our product, the guy comes up and he says, "Hey, I would like you to build a small device for us for these road warriors." And I thought, all right, good idea, let's do that. So we built a product for this guy, and 6 months later, his product's selling really well, and he decides he's in California, he decides he wants to come to Chicago to talk about the next product. And they were in Chicago for some show, and we scheduled the meeting fairly early in the morning. And they show up, and they bring along their sales manager. And it was really early, like 8 o'clock in the morning. And this guy was wired. I mean, he was on something. And it wasn't caffeine. So we start the meeting, we start talking, and the guy, every 5 minutes, he just stops and blurts something out that had nothing to do with what we were talking about. And I'm starting to get annoyed because I'm on track. I want to get this next speaker project going, but he keeps blurting out stuff. And then finally, he grabs my arm, and I go like this. I look at him, and he says, "You should be in the DVD rental business." And I started to laugh. I go, "All right, I'll bite. Well, I'm in the electronics business. Why do you think I should be in the DVD rental business?" And he just looks at me for about 10 seconds, and then he goes, I don't know. And that really bothered me. So that night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing this moron saying, you should be in the DVD rental business. And it was like a worm in my head. It's like that movie Inception. You ever see that movie? They talk about once an idea is firmly implanted in your head, it's impossible to get out. So I've got this thing ruminating in my head. Just so happens that my son comes back from college and he wants to go get a movie at Blockbuster. So we go to the local Blockbuster, and we're sitting in a line of maybe 20 people waiting to get waited on, and the two people behind the counter are just screwing around. And I'm a hot-headed Italian, so I get really angry, and after about 5 minutes, I scream out, "Help! I'm trapped in Blockbuster!" And everybody in line goes, they're laughing, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes this little kid, and he's wearing a manager badge, and he says, "Oh, sorry for the wait," and then he scurries off. So that makes me even more mad. I'm like, "Oh, I can't help you. I can only say I'm sorry." I said, "Somebody should put you out of business." And I go, "I'm going to put you out of business." And all the people that were laughing with me about a minute earlier now do this. Because they're like, this guy's going to go postal. And then my son taps me on, he's the calm one in the family, he taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Take it easy, Dad, take it easy." So the next day I go back into my office and my partner, Franz, is sitting there, and I said, "Hey, remember that cokehead that was in here the other day said we should be in the DVD rental business?" And he goes, "Yeah, that guy was messed up." And I said, "He might have something." And then my partner looks at me like, "What are you on? We're in the electronics business. We have nothing to do with this." So then I started to talk about what I thought this business would be. So my idea was to put these kiosks, but these are like 10 by 10 kiosks in airports, so that the people, the road warriors who were traveling from here to there could rent a movie on the airplane and drop it off at another place. So we spent like 3 weeks developing our nice little business plan and all this stuff, models, blah, blah, blah. And then I had to go out to California on another business trip. As luck would have it, my plane on the way home got delayed. So I had 4-hour delay at this airport, and I'm kind of like a caged animal. So I start walking up and down the halls of this terminal, and up ahead I see this thing, and it's called In Motion. And In Motion was renting DVDs. And I was like, damn it, somebody stole my great idea. So I called my partner Franz and I said, "Hey, toss that idea. Somebody's already doing this. They've got like 10 locations in airports around the country. We're done." But I wanted to see how much money these guys were making with my God-given / cokehead-given idea. So I pulled up a chair across from this place and I watched them for 4 hours. And I counted how many DVDs they rented in 4 hours. And in 4 hours, they rented 5 DVDs for $5 a pop. And so I'm doing like an easy calculation, and I'm going, geez, it's not even covering the rent or the people or whatever. I said, thank God we didn't do this stupid business, stupid cokehead guy. What would I listen to him for? So I'm sitting there watching these guys for like hours, and they're getting a little nervous looking at me, watching them, like, what's this guy doing? And he's just staring at them. But I happened to be sitting next to an ATM machine. And the ATM there was always a line of people filing through the ATM machine, and I would take note of the fact that they were moving at a pretty good clip, and nobody was ever really ticked off at the ATM machine or the wait. And I had one of those Reese's peanut butter cup moments where I'm thinking, ATM DVD, machine this, peanut butter, chocolate kind of moment. And I go, it's a machine. It's not a kiosk, it's a machine. So fly home on the red eye, and my partner Franz comes in, and I basically attack him when he walks in the door, and I go, it's a machine. And he goes, what the hell are you talking about? I go, it's a machine. He goes, what's a machine? I go, the DVD kiosk, it's a machine. And he goes, a machine, great idea. So he and I just started ripping this, we had this little whiteboard, and we started drawing everything we could about the machine. And in a half hour, we basically developed the Redbox machine. Everything that you see out there is pretty much what we developed in this half hour. It was quite amazing. So we're out there and we decide, okay, we have to build a machine or buy a machine. No one's making a machine except in Italy. There's a couple of small Italian manufacturers were making a big machine. We shouldn't have bought it, but we decided we were going to. But we wanted to go to Italy to check this thing out. And but we didn't have the money to do that. It was kind of a boondoggle. We didn't have the money for both of us to fly to Italy and then do whatever. But part of my story I didn't tell you earlier is that when we were at the Consumer Electronics Show, we were waiting for the airplane to go, and they call up and they say, we're overbooked. Who wants to stay for the next flight at midnight? We'll give you $200. And then it became $400, then it became $800, and then they said, we'll give you a free ticket anywhere in the world. And I went, eh. So my partner and I both stood up, got a free ticket. So we had to go to Italy, free ticket. So we went to Italy. We go there and we buy the machine they have, and it's not very good. It doesn't work very well, but we're out there doing our thing. And this is where things get pretty brutal. We're spending money we don't have. We're in debt. The whole process isn't moving forward very well. And, you know, it's like, what can I do? I had taken $250,000 on my house, and I owed $82,000 to other suppliers that I had no possible means of supplying, you know, paying them back. And then one day, a guy shows up at our doorstep and he says, hey, I'm with Selectron at the time. Selectron's a contract manufacturer, probably one of the largest ones in the world. And the guy said, one of our plants, big facility in Creedmoor, North Carolina, just lost their largest telecom account. The account went bankrupt. And I've been tasked to find the next thing. And he said, I saw your thing and I think it's pretty cool. And we go, yeah, we think it's cool too. So we start talking to this guy, and eventually they offer to do $250,000 worth of tooling, engineering, and whatnot to build us a machine. So they build us this new machine, and it's even way better than the Italian-made machine, but it's not quite the Redbox machine. So we're sitting there trying to make things work, and we're still spending money we don't have, and then all of a sudden somebody else comes to our door and says, hey, I'm with McDonald's. And I'm like, okay. And they go, well, we have a division that does ventures, and one of our ventures is a DVD renting kiosk concept. And our particular kiosk machine stinks, and it keeps breaking down, and the guy says, I've been tasked to travel basically around the world to find something to salvage that business. And what's funny is McDonald's is like 7 miles from our office, and he had already traveled all the way around the world to 11 different places, and then he's finally at our front door, and he starts, you know, arrogantly talking about, well, you know, I visit all these places, and everybody thinks they have the best thing in the world, but they don't, and we haven't found anything we really like, and you know, and I'm not a touchy-feely guy, and so I was like, I don't give a crap, what do you think? I said, but you're more than welcome to go look at the machine. So the guy goes back, he looks at the machine, and he says, what's this? I've not seen that before, what's that, what's that? And like 5 minutes later, he walks outside, makes a phone call, and he comes back and he says, I'd like to have the CEO of McDonald Ventures here tomorrow to see your machine, to talk to you. And I'm like, fine, you know, have at it. So they show up the next day, and we're talking, and they said, really like what you got, but it's too big. It holds too many DVDs. And I said, it holds 900 DVDs. And they said, well, we think the number should be 500. And I said, well, I think you're wrong. And they're like, we're McDonald's. We spent a ton of money on due diligence, and we think 500's the number. And I still think you're wrong. The guy says, we will buy these machines from you, but you have to shrink this thing down to 500 units. And you have to do this in 8 weeks. And I said, it's not possible to do this in 8 weeks. And he said, well, that's your opportunity. So I said, all right, it's our opportunity. So we got with the factory, told them 8-week deadline. 8 weeks comes, they say, meet us at the factory, which is in North Carolina. So I have to fly to North Carolina with my partner. And the machine they have is now the Redbox machine. It is the Redbox machine, except we start the demo and nothing works. I mean, nothing works. It does nothing at all. It just could have been a refrigerator for all it was. So these guys said, nice try, but we have to go with the other supplier. So they said, why don't we have a closeout meeting up in this room in 10 minutes, and that's basically a, boot in the pants, and we're out of here. So I called my wife and I told her, sorry, I did my best, but we're in trouble, basically bankruptcy, because this didn't go through, I'm done. And we're starting over at age 40. So I thought, when I called her that I'd get the frying pan on the head for putting us in this position, but she was pretty conciliatory and said, I know you tried, did your best, come home and we'll decide what to do. And I was like, no decision, we're going bankrupt. So I start to walk up to this meeting. I've trailed everybody up there, and before I walk into this room, I stopped and I said, think of something, think of something. And the only thing that popped into my head was this poster I had in my office that had a crane swallowing a frog, and he had basically swallowed the frog, except the frog had the crane by the throat and he couldn't swallow him. So they're in this, death struggle, and underneath it says, never give in. So I walk into this meeting and I basically blast these guys from McDonald's and said, I told you this thing was gonna work, but when are you leaving to go back home? And they said, tomorrow. And I said, tomorrow morning. And I said, I want 24 more hours. I said, if you give me 24 hours, the machine will work tomorrow. And I said, and I'm not gonna take no for an answer. You owe me that. So my partner, Franz, looked at me like, you just burned that bridge. So these guys said, okay, tomorrow, afternoon we'll leave, but we're gonna be first thing in the morning, this thing better work. So they left, and half of my team said, let's get the hell out of here, it's embarrassing, this isn't gonna work. Because the drivers that ran the robot, basically the guy said it would take maybe 3 weeks to fix all the bugs in this system to get it to function properly. And we really didn't have an option. So this is like 2005. So this is pre-Skype, pre-FaceTime, all that stuff. So what we decided to do is do a peer-to-peer with a camera pointing into our machine, and we had 11 programmers in India looking at the machine, and we would have it do something, and it would freeze up, and they'd see where the code froze, and then they would write a patch to it. So all night long, we were running patch after patch after patch, and sometimes the phone would ring, and there would be the guys in India saying, hey, we're trying to install, but you guys, where are you? And we're like, oh, we're asleep. So pretty soon it becomes morning, and then people start milling about, and then I get the message that the McDonald's guys are here, and they, come up and get them. So I told my partner, I said, get the next build in there, and he's like, it's going to take a half hour. And I said, just do it, get those guys to get the next build in. So I went up and kind of did a little tap dance for about a half hour with these guys, and they finally got a little impatient with me and said, all right, let's see if you can back up your claims yesterday. Let's see what the hell you've been up to. So we walked back to the machine, and it was off. Franz had just done something to it, and I said, I I go like this, and he goes, I'm like, yeah, crap. So we turn the machine on, and all of a sudden, basically, I've never seen the Redbox machines, but they're platters. They're round platters, and there's like 9 stacks of them. And when he turns the switch on, all of a sudden the thing starts to do what we call a calibration test, which calibrates every position in the circle. And it had never, ever, ever done that before. It was the first time it ever did that. And when it started to move, I went, holy shit! And inspiring confidence. And this thing does its calibration test and stops. And I'm like, okay, moment of truth. So I go push the rent button, and all of a sudden the machine just goes, like, you know, have you ever heard Redbox makes that noise? Basically, it's the platter spinning around quickly to get to the position. So it goes, and then the picker reaches out, grabs the DVD, pulls it in, and puts it out to the vending station. And I'm like, unbelievable. So I take this thing, and I'm cocky. So I said, all right, let's return it. So I put it in there, returns it exactly where it's supposed to be. And then the machine shuts down, and I'm just kind of like looking at this. And then I realize that there are other people in the room with me. And I turn around, and my partner Franz is just like this. And I look at the guys from McDonald's, and they're also like that. So then I knew, 24 hours earlier, they were on top pounding me, and I knew that, they had the upper hand. But when this thing started to work, I knew that it all shifted. Now I was the guy in the driver's seat, because I had a factory that could make 200 of these units a week, and their factory could do 50 a month. So I said to him, I go, you guys can decide to go with us or not. I don't really care, which was opposite what I wanted yesterday. I said, because you go with these other guys, they can do 50 of those a month, good for you. I said, but when you go to the market, people are going to look around to see who else is ready to go. And they're going to come to me. And I can do 200 a month, or 200 a week. And I will bury you guys. And you'll be out of business. You have no choice but to go with us. And the guy said, you're right. We don't. We don't have a choice. We have to go with you. So that's kind of how the crane and the frog kind of saved my bacon. But people say to me, you're really lucky, really lucky. And I said, yeah, totally believe that, totally lucky. However, if I didn't grab those guys and say, you're not leaving, give me 24 more hours, that opportunity would have gone and never come back. So, yeah, I'm lucky, but sometimes you make your own luck. So, that's my story. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer it. Has to be one question. Yes.
So you said from the very beginning of when you kind of envisioned this, it took 5 years before you were 100% ready to go?
We started in 2000 and did the merger in 2005 in the summer. So it was 5 years, but it took, it took about 6 months through the merger to get to the point where we executed. So, and this morning I was talking to guys and saying, there's something called a bathtub curve in everything, but for an entrepreneur, bathtub curve is you start at the top of the bathtub and everything's great and the world's good, and then all of a sudden you hit this lip and you go sliding down, 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 and nothing seems to be going right. And then finally you're at the bottom, and if you notice that a bathtub is way longer than it is higher, and so now you're trailing down this bathtub and it's like bad, 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 nothing good, I'm on the bottom. And then finally one day something not crappy happens and you're like, hey, I can survive, not everything's crappy. And then something good happens and you survive another week or two, and then finally you can see over the lip and you can say, hey, I can survive, I can thrive, I can reproduce.
Yes?
How are you paying for your like everyday living expenses when you're putting so much money into this?
I made $11,000 a year for 3 years running, and that's after I left a job where I owned part of a company where I was making $200,000 a year 20 years ago. So I went from that to basically, if I was smart, I should have gone to the welfare office and taken public assistance because I was below poverty level. And it was difficult. I owed so much money that, people would be calling and screaming, pay me my money, and you're like, man, I don't have it. So, but the funny thing is that if you owe somebody, if you owe somebody $5, you can really treat them poorly. But if you owe somebody, they can treat you poorly, I meant. But if they owe you $10,000 the other way around, then they kind of still got to be a little nice to you. But it was horrible. There were nights there were actually weeks when it was the worst that I slept in an entire week. I slept 15 hours in an entire week. And, I was like, I gotta get some sleep, but the worry was just all consuming. And, that's why you gotta be either crazy or have a high tolerance for pain to be an entrepreneur, because it's not easy and it's often not fun.
What made you keep going, even though you were so much better?
Well, okay, so I liken it to being crossing a dangerous river, and I'm swimming across this river, and now I'm halfway across the river, and I'm like, crap, I can't make it the other way. I better turn back. Well, I'm halfway across. If I can't make it the other way, I can't make it back either. So I got one way to go, forward. Hell or high water, total destruction of everything, all the finances, probably my marriage, whatever. But when you get to that point, why give up? I hear a popular thing amongst entrepreneurs with fail fast. I hate that. I think fail fast is not doing you guys any favors. I think it should be fail last. It should be the last thing you do is give up. Because doing this isn't easy. I mean, if it was easy, everybody in this room would be a millionaire, everybody. But it's not. So, the world has certain things that you have to put into it in order for it to get out. And, the effort in is the reward out. And there are very few people that stumble across something and life is easy and they're all of a sudden, millionaires, and they never had to work for it or worry about it. So, yes?
When did you get other vendors come to you? When did the company actually take off?
Other what?
Other vendors like CVS and Walgreens and all that.
Okay, so when we did the merger, McDonald's, obviously, they thought the business model was put these DVD kiosks in McDonald's stores. And I said, I think that's a stupid idea. I'm in McDonald's headquarters, and now we're merged, and telling them, hey, I haven't been to a McDonald's in 30 years, and you put one of these machines there, I'm not going there either. So, and the guy says, okay, smart ass, where would you put them? And I said, I put them in grocery stores, because what happens on the weekend? People go shopping. What else happens on the weekend? People want to do stuff. They want entertainment. Put the two together. And then, so the guy who was running the operation for McDonald's said, all right, if you think that's where it is, go find a place to put some. So I said to him, well, do you have enough money? And he said, well, we're McDonald's, we got money. And I said, all right. So like an idiot, I ran out and happened to talk to a guy we were doing our prototype, our first version before Redbox or McDonald's even came in. We had our machines in a grocery store called Jewel up in Chicago, which was owned by Super Value, which has Albertsons and whatnot. And happens the guy that I was dealing with locally was promoted up to the headquarters. So I call him up and I said, hey, we just merged with McDonald's. I said, Ronald McDonald, he doesn't do anything half-assed. I said, we are gonna tear this market up and it's gonna be huge. And I said, you've always been good to us. And I said, unfortunately for us, the McDonald's guys had me approach Walmart first to see if they, would get a contract. And I have a contract in with Walmart right now. But I will send you a contract. And I said, and if you return your contract before Walmart does, I said, we will not be able to deploy any machines in a Walmart for at least a year and a half. And within an hour, he sent me back a signature for 2,000 machines, which was $60 million worth of machinery. And when I threw it on the president's desk, he looked at me and went, "Oh shit." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "We don't have this much money." And I said, "What? You said you're McDonald's." He goes, "Nobody has $60 million just laying around." So they had to go find a partner quickly because they weren't the restaurant chain, they were the venture chain. So they had somewhat limited resources. So they went to a company called Coinstar, and Coinstar bought in like 46% of the company, and then, that's kind of what started the whole thing, and that's where we went.
Where did Redbox come from?
From the McDonald's guys. My company was called Get a Movie, because I was like, hey, get a movie, right? Get a movie. And they go, nah, it's Redbox. And I go, Redbox? What the hell does that mean? And they're like, believe me, we know marketing. And it made sense. I actually like the name because it doesn't mean anything. It means what it became, not what it was.
So how much equity did you own after everything?
After we merged?
Yeah, after you merged and then the other companies.
Yeah, we got, our group of people got bumped down to like 8%. But, 8% of a company that goes into the stratosphere is a lot. Enough for me to retire, live in Florida, and screw around.
I was going to have a very similar question.
Okay.
Did you also, Greg, did you maintain as the CEO or any sort of controlling position, or you just stepped
No,
in?
yeah, I'm the anti corporate establishment guy. I've probably been fired more times than you have fingers on your hand. And I knew that wasn't me. I didn't want to be there. My partner stayed on for a couple of years. Then he left, and we both started a company in Sweden that builds DVD renting machines for Europe. So we're doing that and some other things. Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone, like a new entrepreneur who's balancing their idea and a full-time job, like in terms of commitment?
Well, okay, so I liken it, the story about Cortez when the conqueror went to South America. When he reached South America, the first thing he did was burn his ships. And I'm sure every one of his soldiers went, what the? There's no way home. And he was like, exactly. The only way forward is the only direction. So at some point in time, you can't do this. You gotta go, all right, I'm done. I'm into this. This is my deal. I'm committed. It's like the ham and egg breakfast, the chicken participated, but the pig was committed. Got that? Good. Who's next? Anybody? Yeah.
What's next for Redbox?
I have no idea. I have nothing to do with them. I wish them well. I sold them. I'm done. I don't. I'm more interested in what's next for me, and that's typical entrepreneur. I don't really. One time I was doing a speech at the CEO, and I was actually on a dais, and some guy said, this is like 2009 when the economy's crashing, and I said, what are we going to do to get people working in this country? And all the other people were saying, well, we need this, we need that, and I'm like, I don't know. I started a company that killed 20,000 jobs in this country, and the moderator goes, blockbuster. And I said, I didn't do this for the country. I didn't do this for the state. I did this for me and my family. And if that makes me a selfish bastard, then so be it. And that's the way you guys need to be that way. It's, everything's nice to say, well, I'm going to give some of my profits to whatever. Don't ever put that in a business plan, please. Because anybody with money is going to go, oh, you're gonna give my money to somebody that I don't know? No, I'm not gonna do that. Give your own money, make your money, then give it, but don't ask an investor to buy into some social engineering thing, because they're not gonna do it, unless they're crazy.
Speaking on selfishness, did you ever get a patent, before you ended up pitching, to McDonald's?
Yeah, actually, I was telling the story earlier, you know, the behind-the-ear headsets people wear, you know, before earbuds got really popular, they had these headsets that went behind your head that kind of were stable. Well, I invented that. But the patent I got was pretty crummy, and as soon as it hit the patent office, you know, Sony stole it, LG stole it, everybody else stole it, and flooded the market with them. And so that taught me a lesson, a good lesson, that the next time I was gonna be papered, you know, and I made sure that what we had, McDonald's couldn't, you know, do a runaround on our technology. Plus, I had a deal with the factory. So the factory said, we would give you all this free engineering, but every unit you make, you have to build with us. And I was like, I don't care. I don't have any money, you know. I'll sign that agreement. Well, it turned out to be really a good deal for them, because they made 45,000 of these things that cost 10,000 bucks a pop. So, you know, they made a nice weekend in Vegas off that one. Anybody else? Yeah.
How has Netflix impacted Redbox?
Not really. I mean, so people always say, oh, Netflix killed Blockbuster, but they didn't, because Netflix doesn't do current movies. I mean, if you look at Netflix offerings, most of their movies are like a year old, you know? Redbox is, you know, 50-some days after the theatrical release, they put it in the machine, 13 weeks later, it's gone. And so we're only new releases, basically. I mean, now they have some legacy stuff in there, but mostly new releases. So they pretty much ate the core business from Blockbuster out, and that's what killed them. But Netflix, I love Netflix. I watch it a lot. I wish there was some better stuff on there, but you know, now they're making their own content. That's cool too. Yeah.
Are you worried about the progression past DVD players in general, or do you guys in Blu-ray already, or how do you plan on dealing with that?
Well, they have Blu-ray stuff in the machine. They have games in the machine. You know, eventually every one of these things are going to wind up in a landfill somewhere. All 45,000. And maybe before that happens, I can get one and put one on my lanai down in Florida so I can have one. But I don't really care. I mean, it's not my child. It's the thing I came up with, and sure, I was vested in it. I'm proud of it. I'm, you know, happy to be recognized for it. But it didn't cure cancer, you know. So, is there a question here? Yeah.
Have you ever considered accounting for externalities?
About what?
Have you ever considered accounting for externalities within your company, or is it mainly just profit oriented?
Yeah, that's way above my pay grade. You know, but I know that the ROAs on these discs are like 60-some%. So they buy it for X and they get 60-some% profit on it. But yeah, you should talk to my son. He's got his MBA in finance. That's not me. Yeah.
Is Redbox getting into online streaming?
They are, but you know, they took so long to get at it that they're irrelevant. I mean, they started like 5-6 years ago, which would have been relevant, and it took so long for them to get something done that now that they have it, it's like, I don't even watch it now.
How much of a role do you think the electronic background that you had played in kind of building the first one of these machines that you guys did?
Well, I would say that I'm not an engineer by any sorts, but I'm a tinkerer.
Right.
And I want to know, I think it's important for an entrepreneur to know how the gears work, you know, how things mesh, because then if you don't know just the basics, then you don't know if people are screwing you and going the wrong direction or blowing smoke. So I like to, not that I'm a, you know, control freak, but I like to know what this thing does. And then I'll say, we should do it this way, it might be better, you know, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not. Any other question?
How does Redbox in Europe differ from what you created here in the US?
It's pretty much the same machine, different, instead of platters, it's racks, different software package. So, you know, we had a non-compete up to a point and then said, let's try this. So it's been moderately successful, but the company's getting into other things, automated retail platforms, stuff like Amazon Go. Yeah.
Oh, what did your partner do to get the kiosk to work?
Hell if I know. He put the next software package in from the engineers in India. Whatever they did that last second made it work.
So was it not working prior to you going with it to McDonald's?
No, well, we had an original machine that was doing quite well. But when they told me it was too big and I had to shrink it, then we had to start the entire process over. Funny story is that about 2 years after they deployed machines, they realized that 500 wasn't enough. And guess what the number is?
900.
900. So I tell a story about this, you know, another funny story is that when I'm looking for funds, I'm going to all these hedge funds and investment banks, and everybody's telling me I'm insane. Nobody wants to invest. So I finally get upset at one of these rejections, and I told the managing partner, I go, you look pretty limber, and he's like, what the hell kind of question is that? And I go, because you're going to be kicking yourself in your own ass in 2 years for passing on this. And then the guy grabbed him by the, you know, gave me the bum's rush out the door. As karma would have it, karma's a bitch. I was inducted into the Chicago Hall of Fame 2 years later, and the poor bastard that had to present me my award was this guy. And when I leaned in, I said, you ready to start kicking? And he made some disparaging remark about my lineage, and we left it at that. But it was funny. It's like, not only did he not make millions of dollars on this thing, he had to deal with me knowing that he didn't. So sometimes that's more fun than making money. Yeah.
What did you do for work before you ran your own business?
I owned part of an importing company, electronics. We did projects
Like
overseas.
before that, like, did you ever have just like a regular job before then? Or was
Yeah, I had plenty of regular jobs and were fired from many of them. So you know, I don't say that as a badge of honor, but it's true. I was fired at least 3 times in my life, and one of them was Christmas Eve. You know, so pretty brutal, but probably deserved it. I was always like top sales guy, you know, top performer, and I was impatient having to look at somebody and go, you mean I gotta wait 10 years to replace this idiot who he should be my, or I should be his boss? So that never really gelled very well. And then I finally got to the point where it was like, you just can't work for anybody. You're unemployable. You need to do your own thing. So,
Time for one more, guys.
yeah.
How are you surviving only making 11,000?
We eat a lot of hot dogs. What?
You have no EEG, no unemployment, nothing?
No, I didn't. No, if I was smart, I would have done that. But I thought of that like a week ago, and I was like, now you come. I could have used you 10 years ago, you know. But yeah, and sometimes you got to do that. You've got to just gut it out, because it's not easy. If it was, like I said, everybody here would be rolling in dough. So.
All right, Mike.
You good?
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Hope you guys found that insightful. We always love bringing in the big names, the big companies. So, and on behalf of the UT entrepreneurs, we'd like to give you a little gift for coming, and hope you come back sometime soon.
Oh, well, I'll come if I'm asked.
Thanks, Mike. All right, so before we release you guys, I just have a few announcements about next week. Startup Weekend, Tampa Bay is this weekend in Channelside, and I'll have John get info over about the QR code. John has a QR code over there for just the code.
Yeah.
All right, just the code. So if you want to go this weekend, go see him about that. If you want the CEO, please send all of your invoices to Greg back there. Please wave your hand over there. So he's our treasurer. He'll take care of the reimbursements for you. If you want to stick around afterwards, are we going to do polos this week? If you want to stick around afterwards, if you're a dues paying member, we have the polos in this week. So before we go out in the kitchen. In the kitchen's catering. So go ahead. And then a meeting next week right before Thanksgiving. So thanks for coming, guys.
I thought I loved the first one, and then it turns out it's like behind some of the shirt every
Good?
Good, guys.
Let me say something about the kitchen.
Burn the house down. Hey, how are you?
Nice to see you. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, Sam's gonna have. Yeah, but we're gonna.